Uh, Now we're gonna talk about the Materias service. This is the model, very simple, and that's only a bunch of records about spare parts, consumables, provision, service tools, and also all the transaction history. So all the consumption on board. That means if I receive items from a PO or if I use a specific spare part during the work, a maintenance on board, and this item has been reported in a work order. So all this consumption and new spare part that came from a PO, that will be logged in the transaction history. So we can make a report that once a year and see how many, for example, safety boots you have used last 2017, and maybe create a service agreement with a new supplier this year, or maybe use that to make your budget and so on. Okay, I'm gonna show that later on. First of all, I'm gonna show you. Uh, Now we're gonna talk about the Materias service. This is the model, very simple, and that's only a bunch of records about spare parts, consumables, provision, service tools, and also all the transaction history. So all the consumption on board. That means if I receive items from a PO or if I use a specific spare part during the work, a maintenance on board, and this item has been reported in a work order. So all this consumption and new spare part that came from a PO, that will be logged in the transaction history. So we can make a report that once a year and see how many, for example, safety boots you have used last 2017, and maybe create a service agreement with a new supplier this year, or maybe use that to make your budget and so on. Okay, I'm gonna show that later on. First of all, I'm gonna show you what is the spare part list. Okay, so here looks like Norguys has split all the spare parts between these folders, follow the same structure as you have for the equipment. Okay,
Okay.
that's not a standard, but that's the way they try to organize that better. Okay, if you'd like to see the whole list, you can just click in subfolder on off. So as you can see all spare parts, and so you have we reach the total of 2000. That's a limitation for the grid, but you can go one by one if you want. Okay, and see how many spare parts you have per group here. Okay, the filtering and searching engine is the same. As you can see, I can use the same way of filtering. Okay, to look for some bearings, or maybe I can try finding some kind of a gasket. Okay, I can filter, for example, for gasket when my stock on board is higher than 0. So that means I have stock on board. Okay, so this spare part that has this name gasket. Okay.
Right.
That we have stock on board. So I can just open one, for example. So inside you have all the common information, basic information from spare parts. You can define, for example, groups, if that's a critical material or not a critical material, if that's a critical spare part or not a critical spare part. subgroups. You can define that. Some companies, they start to use that material group instead of these folders here.
Right.
Okay.
So those folders, those subfolders are just a means of organizing the spare parts. It doesn't has nothing to do with anything within the program itself.
No, just to organize that and delay a little bit more the quantity of spare part that will be displayed in the grid. So instead of the clicking delay, I can just go direct to the group 3. And so I have it's like can be used like a filter.
I
So
think,
I know that's this group 6 is all related to machinery list, machinery equipments,
yeah,
and
it has the same number or organization than the the maintenance plan. If you
yeah,
look in group two, it's the group two of the maintenance plan.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But for example, I can create a new group here called let me see. I cannot create a folder here, but I can create a group called uh, warehouse or something if you
yeah.
want. So that's just a group. The same as people made with the material acquisition here. They create a history and they start to move all material acquisition to the folders according the years. So that's a way to organize that. Let me open here again. So you can define what the unit of measure. You can define if it is needed documentation when we issue a PO for that. You can inform if that's needed certificate when you buy that. That cannot be direct ordered. So I'm gonna show you afterwards because you can create a purchase order, direct purchase orders to the ship sender and so on. Oh no, that's the one that's not in use anymore. So no one can create MERs or orders to buy this item.
Right.
Okay. Have all technical information as the master drawing number, the page, the position, the default bin. I'm gonna talk afterwards how to organize all these spare parts in a new model called the stores. Okay, before the 320, before this version 353, people used to organize the spare parts in these groups.
Yeah.
But now in the 353, you have some called the stores, where they can organize all the items they have on board inside some bins and shelves and so on. So you have a better overview than this one, in my
Yeah.
opinion. You can define the minimal level stock, the minimum stock level, minimum quantity to reorder. You can have from FSM the last price that someone bought this spare. If this item is on order, you can see here where's what PO is handled this item. So you can also, for example, if I close that, on order, let me click here and look in the subfolder. Yeah, we don't have MERs in this database. Yeah.
I think you got a filter equals to zero somewhere.
No, but now I remember we don't have material acquisition. We have only 3, so
Okay.
that's the reason. Yeah. So you can set, for example, that this item can be stored in multiple bins on board. So that means I can have this item in the bridge stock. We can have this same item in the engine room stock. Oh no, that's not cannot be split on board. So people have to keep that in the same place. So I just keep that unchecked, and
Yeah.
the people cannot organize that in the system in different locations. So
Yeah.
in connections, I can see what kind of a scheduled jobs have these spare parts as a suggestion. So you can see that this spare part, someone put here that he needs this spare to perform this maintenance. We can also add a new connection that can be a documentation or can be just a technical account. That means I can connect this spare to a equipment or more than one. Okay. That means when I create a new material requisition and I select these technical accounts, automatically the system gonna suggest me to use this item and the other ones that are linked with this technical account. So let's just a quick jump to purchase, for example. If I click in purchasing, test, I can select equipment. Okay, when not this one. Uh, doo -doo -doo -dum. Okay, you're gonna suggest me all those spare parts are connected to this technical account itself.
Oh,
Okay, so that's the reason when we have a spare part, you can just connect this spare to many kind of equipment. So if people doesn't know on board what kind of a spare parts is from this auxiliary engine or the main engine, if that's the correct set in the IPS, he can just go there and filter by the equipment, and that will show all spare parts connected to this equipment. So that's easy to them to select the correct spare.
right.
Okay, some additional description to this spare. All locations, so that means I can add many locations, this item to many locations, so I can put this one. Okay, that's one of the locations we can have this item.
These locations are where can the crew define the
Uh,
times in store?
that's a yeah, that's a store. I'm gonna
Okay.
jump from here to store just to show you. It's
Okay.
just analyze that tab here. We have a transaction, that all the transactions from these items. So for example, I have now what's my stock, local stock, 0 stock. So let's make a transaction here, and then make my inventory on board and say no, we have 2 items, 2 spare like this in my stock. So the IPS was wrong, so I can just update that here. Now my stock is 2. The transaction have 1 test count. That means I have 1 item that become from an inventory or task count on board. Okay, and in the location, I can see that I have two pieces of this item. Okay. We can order this item from here. Okay, make a transaction from here as well. So let's suppose, okay, someone report a maintenance, but they forgot to use the item, consume an item. I can just go direct to the item, create a transaction, and I say that was out transaction, and I can remove one. Okay. This was just going back. Now I have one transaction out. Okay. And as I save this item, this location,
Yeah.
if I go to my stores, I have one location called Nogas Petaluma. Every vessel has its own location. I can create more if I want. Okay.
So its locations, it means where the spare part is will be, or in the vessel or in the storage on a.
Yeah.
It cannot be a location within the vessel.
Sorry, say again.
It cannot be a location within the vessel, like bows
No, no.
first. Okay, got it.
So, for example, I can create a new bean. For example, that's for example, engine room stock. So I can, for example, say that's on repair or regular store. So that's scrap items or test bin type or third-party repair, for example. This is a regular one. Okay, regular store. I have no store area defined yet. Okay, I'm gonna do that afterwards. So I create a new location. Okay.
Right.
That can be another name that not point direct to the engineering room, for example, but I can define in story areas here. Engineering room. Bridge. Deck, for example. So I can say for this one is engine room. So people, if I have many beans here, people can just go and start to filter the
Right.
engine. Okay.
Right.
So filter. Okay. So as this has no items inside, I can just or click over that and add a new one. So I can take from the spares. Okay. I can add this to my engine room stock. Okay, has no stock here. I can edit some information like expire date if I want, warranty date for each spare part, for example. I can, for example, I can make a test count for this stock on board. So I can just downstairs and okay, let me see how many items from this I have really in my stock on board. So I can check that and then make a update stock afterwards. So this one actually I have 3. This I have 1. So inventory, and I make a reason. Okay. So now my stock is fully updated,
Right.
and if I go to the transaction, let me just minimize that. If I go to my model transaction, I have all transactions, and I can use the filters, for example, to take all transactions from 3 days ago, and there I have all those items that I have changed. Okay.
Okay.
Now inventory, this was consumable work order, now inventory count. See? So that's easy. Uh, we used to make these store areas here, but have seen some companies that sometimes in stores create, for example, a new store. Uh, for example, so people just split all the store in different store locations, not in areas, for example. So they can have this only for bridge.
Right.
See, so he can just do what he want here, and create one only for the engine room, another one only for the deck. But that's up to you guys.
This should be done by the
By the
superintendent, right? Not the people on board.
No, the people on board, because they can mess up that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because when you start to see to have many locations, and so we don't know where is, have to go one by one to check where this item is located. So I do recommend create only one,
Only one. Yeah, yeah.
and inside you can create many kind of bins here. So
Right,
you can create a default breed uh, main stock, and you can define that. See, so easy to look into these items.
right,
That's you can also create labels, select a specific bunch of items from a specific store, and I create labels. Okay,
right.
I'm gonna show you the location, the quantity. This is customized, so you can define what kind of information you'd like to see here.
Yes.
Okay, I can, for example, move from this main default bean to the other ones.
Right.
No, sorry. It's move. So I put that here, and I send that, and I can send what the quantity that's 0, so that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. This does accept.
Be once, at least.
Now I have to remember when I say that, to have to say that you can allow multiples.
Okay.
I cannot update that. Why not? Yeah, I don't have access to set that as well.
That should be on your administration rights, correct?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I have to stop soon, so I'm gonna just make this change tomorrow.
Yes.
But just before I talk more about these stores, back to the consumable, that's exactly the same screen, the same features.
Yes.
See, but the only difference that's for consumables, you have some extras like tariff code and some kind of a catalog numbers that we don't have for spare parts.
Right.
But have the same location, have the same transaction, same connections,
Right.
provisions as well. I don't know if you guys gonna create provisions in IPS. They have insert provisions here. At least here in Brazil, have a service. Normally, the company have a service agreement with some catering companies.
Yeah.
People from the vessel just send a spreadsheet and that's it. They don't have to go one by one here and pick up the items.
So they eat the same thing every time.
Yeah, most of the times.
Yeah.
So normally have a spreadsheet and just send the spreadsheet again with the correct quantities and that's it.
Okay.
Same for services. You can create some service like a calibration, inspection, something that can be held from someone outside the company. We talk about the equipments, and I teach you guys how you can use the filters to find the equipments and the models and so on. How to edit and change and the equipment's particulars, like model type, serial number, and the other kind of information on the equipment.
Yes.
From the work planning perspective, I show you how you can create a basic work instruction that can be used for many equipments and many vessels. So the good thing for to have an work instruction instead of create directly scheduled jobs is for any future update for this work instruction, all vessels and scheduled jobs based on that will be automatically updated. So that means if you have 1,000 scheduled jobs based on the same work instruction, all of these 1,000 will be updated automatically. So that's make your management from the office easy.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
What I didn't show you yesterday because we didn't have the correct reports installed. I made this installation this morning. So, for example, any work order or any scheduled jobs, you can just click with right button in the ID column, and you can set print preview item. So that's something people on board can print out, save somewhere, and check what's the latest comments for this maintenance, what resource they need to do that, what's the base description, okay,
Right.
and more technical information from the equipment itself.
Right.
Okay. Same for work orders. So for example, I can just take a bunch of work orders, right click, print preview. And so I have the 6 work orders I've selected, printed here with the latest 5 history. So I can see when that has been done and what is the work order. Okay.
Yeah.
Done by whom. Okay, so you can see more information who made the latest report and the description for that one. So normally people on board they print out that and I give that to the second engineer or to first mate or someone else. Okay.
Right.
And the same for histories. Okay, so that's a work order that's filled. So here you can see the work report and the work description. So this is something that can be printed out and archive in a paper instead of in PDF or something in the computer.
Yes.
So that's something I didn't show you guys yesterday because we had a wrong setup of this test environment. So
Right.
now it seems okay. Uh, if I go to the reports, I import some for this training, some reports, just so you guys have an idea what we are talking about. For example, all schedule maintenance, overdue maintenance. So we can apply filter, only include work orders if you want, or no. I can, yeah, maybe I can just to include work orders instead of the whole bunch of scheduled jobs. So this is the report we get from this report itself. Okay. If I'd like to see what kind of work order is that, I can just click here in the report. Ah, click too much. So you see, so you can see what is the what's the work order we are talking about here. So that's very simple. Okay.
Yeah.
You must stay, we must keep the start APS open to be able to click here and see what kind of schedule job is that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
See? And I don't want to show you all reports, but afterwards you can guys just go one by one here if you want, and just try yourself and see what kind of a report is that. For example, we were talking about history yesterday, so I can take 1 year ago to today. For example, only corrective if I want. So I have all my work history from 1 year ago with all corrective actions. You see? So that's very simple. You can use the filters to reduce the number of information, to refine a little bit more what kind of information you'd like to have.
Yeah.
And I put some from the materials and services as well, for the purchase as well, technical accounts, and the work planning. That's the basic ones. Perfect.
Perfect.
Something I forgot to tell you guys yesterday is another kind of schedule job that's called roundabout job. What does that mean? For example, if I have more than one equipment, where, for example, I need to check the fire extinguishers, for example, and I don't need to have one inspection job for each fire extinguisher in my maintenance plan. I can have only one task that can cover many equipments. Okay, so let's suppose I'm here in the schedule jobs. If I'd like to create a new schedule job, okay, I'm gonna create from the scratch. Uh,
That will be from when you start from scratch is when you are doing a corrective or an emergency or something that is not planned, correct?
Now that one I'm not. I will not create that as a corrective because I'm creating a scheduled job that will be part of my maintenance plan.
Okay, okay.
Okay, but if I create a work order, a single alone work order, this work order becomes a corrective.
Okay.
So that
I
means
was,
we don't have corrective scheduled jobs. We
yeah.
have corrective work orders.
Okay. Got it.
About job testing. I just put the department here. And for example, okay, so they are similar equipments. Yeah, the piece of this engine. So I don't need to create one schedule jobs to each one. That means I'm gonna give to the first engineer more work to do because he has to open one by one and report one by one. So to avoid that, I select more than one, and instead of create separate schedules, I'm gonna create one schedule called roundabout job. Okay. I'm gonna save that in the main group. So it's the engine. Okay. Just put an example here, and that's it. Okay, if I try find this schedule job here, that will be overdue in 2 days. So I have one description that gonna cover all these equipment here. You see?
Yeah.
So when I start to report that, okay, so I can go one by one and say that was okay, that was okay. So I can put some comments. Okay. So I can complete that as a normal scheduled jobs. Okay. And when I finalize that, now I forced to go direct to the
History.
history. So I'm in the history right now. I'm gonna take all from yesterday to now. See, I have a report that covers all these equipments. So that's easy to the chief engineer or to the second engineer. Just report this matter. That's not common for these big machines, but for example, fire extinguishers, radios, maybe these cylinder covers, cylinder lines, cylinder headers, this kind of same task job at the same time, so you can just do like this. So see, there is a report for each one. So that's easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was the one thing was missing from yesterday. And also if I can print preview that if I want. So you see, there is a status for each equipment. Perfect.
Good.
And we start to talk about spare parts.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Do you need me to go into all the details again? I can just skip that. What do you want?
It's up to you. I mean, if you can do a quick recap.
Yeah. Okay, basically all these spare part, consumable, provision, service, and tools, they have the same screens, same screen. I'm just working one by one here just to have an idea. Okay, that's basically the same screen, but just small difference because, for example, provision and consumable, they have the catalog number. And they don't have, of course, the serial number and so on, and dry number, for example, as you have for spares. Okay, but basically it's the same screen, same windows. Okay, uh, you can't say, for example, that this is a kind of a spare part that I need a certificate. So when this goes to FSM, that's the purchase model of from CIS, yeah. The purchaser can see that okay, I need to issue a certificate for this item because people on board need that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. You can also, where's this part here? Not to be ordered. There is a danger goods. Da, da, da. Just 1 second. It's missing one information in this template because you can set up, maybe that's a configuration, but you can set this spare part as a danger spare. So when people receive that in the office as well, they say, oh, okay, I have to arrange a special shipment or a special warehouse because this item people request on board, that's danger. So maybe a nitrogen or something like this that have to take care how people gonna handle this spare, or maybe how they gonna transport that.
Right.
Okay.
It's not there because of setup.
I guess okay. That's a flag here as well. You can say that's a danger.
Right.
and you can set what kind of level of dangers that is as well. I can check afterwards during the interval. I can check if I can enable that.
What's the difference between local and office? You are right now in the vessel side, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the vessel right now. That's the same windows, but sometimes we block people to change information like these flags, for example. They
Right.
can just keep in touch, for example, in how to set a current stock. So
Right.
just to avoid the guys on board to start to change that, and so it become a mess because probably you guys have a standard in the office about the IDs and about the description of the item. So that take time. So just to avoid any unexpected change, we can block that from the people on board as well. But that's exactly the same one, the same screen.
Okay, okay. So this
Okay.
is the screen that you use to 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 create a new spare part.
Yeah. So to create simple, uh, follow the same methodology from the other models. You
Yes.
can just right click, new, okay, spare,
Yes.
open the wizard. So you can just click in next and define an ID. So that's training. So a spare for training. Okay, you can set what kind of stock. Okay, here. Uh, you see that's flag danger goods, but I don't know why that's not active. The good is generic. That's something I have to check in the database as well. Uh, next. So my minimum stock is 3. I can just be receive a notification. Not receive a notification. I can filter afterwards when that's more or less about 4. So I can just okay. I'm almost in my minimum stock.
Right.
Quantity to reorder. So that means that's a pack of minimum 6. So I cannot. I need to order multiples of 6. So 12, 18, and so on. So I can allow multiple bins as well. So that will allow me to save in different store locations. Okay. I can tell every time someone order this item that will be automatically saved and updated in this room. Okay, this store location. So this stock will be updated when they receive that item on board. Okay. Can set a default technical account as well. And I'm gonna click to open that afterwards. So you see, now I have my item. Okay. I can make transactions, for example. I can open that and okay, I have no stock. I can create a transaction here. And for example, for a test count, I'm gonna say that I have 5 items on board. Okay. Okay, now I have 5 items on board. I make a transaction, so I have a history here that this guy has been updated today, and someone, based on a test count on board, they update the quantity to 5. Okay, we are able to. Okay, I don't want no one to order or use this item anymore because that's out of our standard. So I can just click aquí not in use. So that means I have this item in my spare list, but that's not active for be ordered or any kind of new requisition about that. So people can still have some transaction over that until you get your stock equal to 0.
Right.
After that, you're not able to update or to include more information.
Okay.
Perfect?
Perfect.
So just to open the service as well, just to you guys see that it's the same, or less the same screen. So that's a services. So people don't. It's very rare see customers using this service as an item like this, because when we create a purchase order or a material requisition, they used to select these services to request, for example, a service engineer on board to make any kind of a test or fix up or inspection. But normally people just type directly, because when I start to show you guys the purchasing model, you're gonna see that you can, instead of select an item, I can just start to type what kind of item I'd like to buy.
Yeah.
The difference is that when people receive this service item on board, that's you not automatically update your stock. So the IPS only update the stock automatically on board when you request something based on the items you have in the spare list, the consumable list, and so on.
Right.
Okay. Same for tools. Okay, basically the same screen. I don't know in Miami, I don't know in your office in Peru if that's a requirement for tools. At least here in Brazil, they start to ask Petrobras here in Brazil. They start to ask some customers to control some specific tools to avoid accidents and so on. So many of our customers in Brazil, they request us to put here a expire date for this tool. So a hammer, for example, you must have a 3 months until you have to replace that. So I don't know if that's a requirement in Miami or requirement in Peru, but in Brazil they start to request that, but we don't have how to set that in the system.
Oh, okay. I don't think we have that. Like, como que un tool dura tanto tiempo y tienen que cambiarlo. ¿Qué cosa? En el barco. Si por ejemplo, una herramienta que compras tiene que tener una duración específica.
Ah, pero eso sucede que tiene vencimiento
Ajá.
con la medicina, sucede.
No, yeah, we only got that with the medicines, but not tools.
Yeah, because we have some cases in Brazil where people in the deck was just trying to remove the rust from the deck. So suddenly the hammer just broken and hit someone else. So after that, Petrobras decided to put as a requirement to customers control some specific tools. So the hammer is one of the examples they asked for. So
Wow.
that's yeah. Probably guys, you guys know Petrobras in Brazil. You know how they are very boring.
Yeah.
Do not say penis. But well, and all transaction in the start APS can doesn't matter if that's a in transaction or out transaction or a test count transaction. Okay, you'll be recorded in the transaction history. In transaction is all that came from MER. MER is the material request. Okay, as you can see, I have the PO number here in the site, so that's I update my stock if you want quantity based on this MER.
Right.
So if I use, for example, let me see if I have here. For example, this one
Yeah.
I remove from my stock, okay, to cover this work order. You see?
Yes.
So you can make a lot of filters here. Okay, move in, move out. That's when I move from a store to another store. The transfer in, transfer out. That's something that you guys don't have. That's our transportation model.
Okay.
Because yeah, you can have one model called transportation where you can create many warehouse. And for example, a vessel can see where the item is located, so he can say, oh, I don't need ask someone to buy that because I'm going to Miami and I know that in the store in Miami I have this item, so he can ask for that transaction transfer from the warehouse to the vessel. So that's logged here as well. So that means I'm going to update my onboard stock from a transaction from a warehouse to the vessel. So that's a good feature as well. I don't know if that can be interesting to you guys, as you have a location in Peru and Miami. I don't know if you have vessels going between both countries or any other kind of country that you have as a warehouse and or stock,
Well,
something like this.
typically we have our stores located in the area of trading because we are not always in Peru and we are not always in Miami. We typically maintain a warehouse in the area of trade at the with the within the area of the time charter.
I see.
So that's something that we will use. I think I believe.
Yeah, but interesting from this transportation model, that's not only warehouse, but for example, I have a vessel that's going to Miami, and I know that maybe another vessel from your company, you'll be in Miami as well.
Okay.
So I can request a transfer from a vessel to another vessel because he'll be able to see the stock from the other vessels from the same fleet.
Okay. I got.
So they can coordinate that directly and see and check with the people in the office who will be available in this shipyard or this port that day, so he can try take from the item from this vessel, stand off, wait someone buy that in Norway or Peru or United States, and so deliver on board. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But and from that place here, you can make some reports as well, so you can see all transaction scenes. For example, 1 month ago, have no, maybe, oh, 1 year ago. So I can see all my alt stock. So I can grab this information to my Excel and see, okay, let's see how many items I use from this upper bearing shell, for example. And I can, okay, next year probably for my budget, I'm gonna use from my experience the same quantity, so I can create a more accuracy budget for the 2019, for example.
Right.
So that's something you can take from here as well, and this opposite as well. Let's see how many purchase people made. So I can just see what kind of MERs and what kind of item people request from the vessels. Okay, and make a statistic or a forecast to
When you
the
say
2000.
MR, what do you mean? It's what?
Sorry, MER means material requisition.
Oh, material requisition.
If you go to purchase model, you have a material requisition.
Right. Yeah. 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 I understand.
This one came to FSM as a PR. So the MER become a PR in FSM that called a purchase request. And so when that they create a quote and so on, and I create a PO, so that back to IPS as a purchase order.